Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be guiding you through how our Phoretix 1D software allows scientists to convert images of SDS-PAGE, Western blot, Southern blot, Northern blot experiments, take those, analyze them and convert them straight into a number of different graphs and publication ready images without having to go through any kind of third-party software like Word, Photoshop, PowerPoint, anything like that. So we can go straight from our results to kind of a fully filled in lab report or something that can be passed into journals as a publishable figure. So obviously if you've seen any of my videos before, you kind of know the overall workflow of how we go from images to bands to quantification to results, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to focus too heavily on those aspects for now. There are other videos which cover that in more detail. What I'm going to focus on is how do we extract the images and the graphs into something presentable. So if you've seen my videos before, you'll know this image. This is one of the demo images that comes included in the software. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go quickly through detecting the lanes on here, getting some bands and talking about the image export and what kind of graphs we can get out of Phoretix 1D just automatically. So I'll grab my bands here. So throughout all of the modes that I've got here, we've actually got the option to export any of these at any point of your analysis as a presentation image. So we can go back to the image view, we can right click on any of these, we can copy the 3D view to the clipboard and save it to a file, things like that. So you've really got a ton of options about how you want to present your data, your workflow and your results. So I'll grab kind of the raw image from here and then I can pop it. I've just generated a kind of template lab report here to kind of represent the kind of work that you might be doing in your labs wherever you're working. So under here, 7.3 figures in graphs. Just delete this dummy text here. I can just Control and V, just paste the image as it is. So there we've got our raw image that we've used for analysis. I can do the same with the 3D view. Now, the 3D view is remembered when you copy it, it's remembered where you've positioned it. So if I want to move this around to get a really nice kind of view, or pop it out to get some really stunning visuals for reports or presentations, that's absolutely supported. So if I want to do it like this, copy it to a clipboard, you'll see I've also got the option to save it as a file. So I can save it as a more high-res kind of image file that again can be taken to different pieces of software to create marketing materials, publications, reports like this, things like that. So this kind of copy to clipboard is in loads of different places around the software. So I can do it here. So again, I can copy to clipboard and then I've got the save to file option as well. I can add that in. So the idea here is that if you're creating your lab report as a kind of workflow analysis to show to a superior or to get signed off, they can see how you've defined your lanes. We can copy all of our lane profiles as well. So again, the same kind of thinking was designed behind this. So if you're presenting a report to show to your superiors or colleagues, they can see exactly where your background has been removed to make sure that you've used a scientifically rigorous kind of strength and background correction method, as we obviously include quite a lot within our software. What we can also do is kind of copy this band profile so we can see where we've overlaid our bands. Not taken. So we can see where all of our bands have been defined, and again we can copy our lane profile as well. And if we're using our expanded view to do kind of really small band identification and get that really big on your screen, again we can copy this view as well. So pretty much every view from the software can be copied and pasted into a lab report, including the overlays, the data that you see on top of that as well. But what we can also do if we want to do a more kind of high-res export for publications is right-click and then click on our export presentation image. So when we do this, we get access to a lot of different options that we can overlay on top of this information. So we've got things like our scale bar. So if someone's just seeing this image and they've never seen this image before, or even our software before, they can start interpreting what everything means just from an image alone. So we've got our areas of saturation here in orange, which again I explain on other videos. We can see kind of our low and high measurements. So this basically is kind of like a scale bar to show you what is signal and what is background. So obviously in this image, our bands are light, so we would call that high, is an area of high intensity, it's the signal. Whereas all this area around our image that is in the background is noted as background, so it's the low end of the spectrum. And we also include different measurements of scale bars, but within this tool as well, you've got a lot of control over how you present this. So we can crop these images directly in here before we export them. We can turn on or off the overlays, we can turn on or off the saturation, we can turn on or off annotations. So if you have added annotations to your image, those can be represented on these exported images as well as using the copy to clipboard function as well. So all of that is respected, so you'll be able to see all the information you've appended to your image. Intensity scale, distance scale, you can all turn that off, and you can change the kind of the DPI of the output, so the quality of the image that's coming out. So we go all the way up to 2400 DPI. That makes a large image file, as you would imagine, but it means it's a really high quality image export. So we're not doing things like, capturing a screenshot and copy and pasting that and risking losing kind of fidelity from our image. We're exporting really high quality images with the intention that they're going to be used in high quality publications. They can be used for marketing materials, as I mentioned before. They can be printed on really large high quality posters, things like that. So we've got all that functionality directly in Phoretix 1D. We don't need to kind of, like I say, do any screenshots, kind of crop those and work within loads of different software to try and get to a really nice image. We can just export straight from our analysis software here. And then we just would click on export and save it as a file as you would anything else in Windows. What we also have the ability to export along with images of our original source gel or our kind of our lane profile on the right hand side here, we can export all of our molecular weight fitting information graphs. So again, this is super important for people that are working in kind of pharma companies and are producing these kind of reports to show to their superiors to prove that a quality analysis has been performed and it matches any SOPs that may be surrounding this on site. If you're working in kind of a 21 CFR or a GMP compliant environment, this is going to be really useful to prove that you've done the analysis as you should have done the analysis. So you see here, I've just dropped a kind of random molecular weight ladder on the sides of my image here, and we get this calibration curve, which is obviously where all of our unknown bands are having their molecular weight extrapolated from. What we can do here again is we've got the same options, so we can save this to a file or we can copy it to a clipboard. So I'll just copy it to my clipboard here, and then I can start adding it to my lab report to show, the calibration curve is representative of the data. It is a suitable calibration curve to be using. And if you've got a kind of standardized process, you've got an SOP in place, these calibration curves are likely to all be the same or should all be the same. So that's an option we've got within the software as well, and we can do that for any of the graphs that we produce in Phoretix 1D. So the normalization functions, if I just grab, do we have multi-band? So for normalization, we don't have a graph, but for quantity calibration, we do. So if I just add some random bands here for calibration quant, you'll see this graphs, all over the place. That's just because I've just picked random bands. But again, you can come through and you can save that to a file or you can copy it to a clipboard. Again, this is super useful if you're a service provider and if you want to be passing these reports to your customers to verify your data so they can see how the numbers were achieved. You can show them all these graphs, show them that your quantity calibration, lines up with the fitting line, the line of best fit that you've used, the algorithm that you've used. And then you can, of course, make sure the molecular weight lines up with the line of best fit that you're using. So all this provides a huge deal of evidence that can be used however you really want to, basically. So yeah, and all of these are included in our results PDF. So if you generate a PDF report rather than using a CSV export from the program, all of this information is included in the report as well. But it gives you complete free reign over how you want these images to be used, how you want reporting to happen either to your customers or within your site. So yeah, it's a really handy feature that we've got built directly into the software, meaning you don't have to do any cropping, copying, pasting, screenshotting, anything like that in an external program and risk losing things like image fidelity or not having things like overlays. All that information is available using the graph and image export directly from Phoretix 1D. As always, if you'd like to try out a free trial copy of our Phoretix 1D software using your data from your lab, please check out the link in the description below or go to our website directly and see how it works within your lab setting and see if the ability to capture all this information in a visual format is really going to help your internal reporting, your reporting to customers and clients. Yeah, and if there's anything else you'd like to see in terms of visual image export or graph export from Phoretix 1D, please let me know in the comments or get in contact with us directly and we'll see what we can do.